Hi, Nisma. My name is Nicolette. I am the creator for the podcast titled You're Worthless. Read that again. The juxtaposition of your very soul. Thank you and welcome to my show and for actually saying yes to be interviewed today. As part of a ritual for my podcast, I normally read a bit of introduction of my guests to my listeners before we get down to business. So if you could let me yeah, mesmerize our listeners today.
Sure.
Hey everyone, we have Nisma here, Nisma Osman. She has written, she is a songwriter, music producer, entrepreneur from Western Massachusetts in the USA. Oh gosh, let me see. She writes songs for film and TV and have had music on over 200 TV shows and more, and teach others on how to do the same. She has secured over 200 sync licensing placements in films and TV shows like Love is Blind, Dancing with the Stars, Temptation Island, NASCAR, Tia and Tamara, and many more. She also studied hit songwriting techniques with pop songwriting legend Kara Giorgi. I remember that name growing up. Now, she also taught songwriting to the next gen of songwriters at her alma mater, Berklee College of Music. More than that, her mission is to help aspiring creatives escape the burnout that comes from pursuing overcrowded traditional promotional strategies, a process that eats away at our passion and causes too many talented musicians to quit too early. She does this by combining her experience in music licensing, songwriting, and business, offering tried and true strategies for building satisfying and fun creative careers. Wow. So, Nisma, welcome.
Thank you.
Great to have you on. So, tell us, what was it like growing up as Nisma Osman?
Oh man, that's a loaded question. Well, it came with its fair share of challenges. And I think that those challenges pushed me to do music because it was like my only safe outlet. And I started writing songs as young as, I don't know, probably 7 or 8. I was experimenting with music. And then I just kind of fell in love with it. And I realized, that it could be something really fulfilling and satisfying. And it just gave me so much joy to write music. And so I just kind of went full force in that direction. And I ended up teaching myself guitar and piano and then learning how to write songs. And then when I got into high school, or when I got into middle school, I started actually recording my songs in recording studios. And then in high school, I taught myself how to record. And then it just kind of, one thing led to another. And I went to college for it. And here we are all these years later. So that's the very hyphenated version of what it was like to grow up as me.
So, do you also sing?
Yes, I do sing. Yeah.
Can I maybe towards the end, have a snippet of a song of your own choice? Like I had
Oh
one.
boy.
She was also a singer, but she turned to I think she was still singing at the time, but she's also a life coach. So she
Cool.
sang me this verse of "Greatest Love of All" by Whitney Houston. So yeah, but
Oh,
up to you.
nice.
No pressure, Nisma.
All right, we'll see. I didn't quite warm up today, so we'll see.
Yeah, it is very important to warm up. Yeah, and
Yeah, it is.
like proper way to warm up your voice before you start belting or whatever.
Yes, for sure. Or else you sound all screechy and cracky, and nobody wants to hear that.
Wow. Okay, so this is a true artist right here. Okay. So I mean I mean when I say I'd like to say that I no. Cuz when you say somebody comes from a musically inclined background, there's a perception that you I think most or some of the family members play some type of instrument or they sing. But for me, I think growing up, I was just exposed to different kind of genre. So
Yeah,
I also love music. So
yeah,
I wanted to sing, but then my dad never thought that path to be
yeah.
ready to be pursued in full force. So how do I say this? Decided to go on the path that, the accounting path. But
Yeah.
right now I'm venturing. I'm doing podcasting. So
Good. Yeah, that's
life
definitely
is
different
short,
than
right?
accounting. Yeah.
So, okay, Nisma, tell us, why is it so challenging for aspiring artists to break through the noise in today's music industry?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's so challenging because there's so much, that this is in air quotes if you can't see me, competition, right? And the reason for that is what's interesting is that the reason for that is also what's good about the modern music industry, which is that the
Everybody can make
act
music.
everybody exactly. The access is unprecedented. It's never been this easy to start, launch, build a music career and make money off of it. But what that means at the same time is that if you're doing it, so are thousands of others who otherwise wouldn't have, without that same level of access.
Right.
So that's the challenging part is really just understanding, and to give you a frame of reference, since you have a
Yeah.
numbers background, right, in accounting. Don't exactly quote me on this, but it's somewhere in the ballpark of, I think, 40 to 50,000 songs uploaded per day to Spotify. So to say that the supply heavily outweighs the demand, right, in accounting terms or economics
Yeah.
terms,
Yeah.
right, is an understatement. So the challenge is no longer how do I get my music out there? It's how do I
Exactly.
rise above the massive wall of noise that is that's growing every day, rapidly. So yeah, and then of course how to make a living doing that. And that's where the sync licensing comes in for me, because I realized a long time ago that I was going to have the best shot at making some money by following the sync licensing path, and that's proved to be true. So and they're not making it any easier to make money from streaming. Spotify has raised its payout threshold to 1,000 streams. So, it's just everything is pushing people more and more in that direction of figuring out other ways to make money from their music.
So, if there's somebody, can you share with us or explain to us in layman's term, like what is sync licensing?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so the 411 sync licensing. So sync stands is short for synchronization. So
Right.
it's a simple process really of procuring a license or permission to use a song in a piece of moving media like a TV show, film, commercial, etc., right?
Right.
Now, the process is obviously more robust than that, but it's a simple concept of, if you have an ad, let's say Target has an ad that they want to run and they want to use a song for that ad, they need to secure a sync license, and then they pay money for that license. And the money goes to the artist who made the song and
Right.
probably their
Like a
licensing
royalty,
agency. Well,
right?
it's not a royalty. It's different than a royalty because there's
Oh,
two, and this is also what's so great about sync is that you get paid twice. So you get paid a one-time upfront license fee. Think of it like a fee to put on a yard sale, right? Or a
right.
garage sale. You have to pay the town $20 or whatever. But
Right.
then imagine if you had to pay the town 10 cents for every item you sold, right? So that's the same for sync licensing, where you get paid that upfront fee, but then you also have to be paid on the back end for when your song actually plays and
Gets
streams
aired.
live.
Right.
Exactly. So you get paid twice, which is great.
How does one get into that avenue of sync licensing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're going to go the DIY route, which I don't recommend, not just because I want you to work with me, but because it takes a long time to be able to figure this stuff out, especially if you're coming with zero sort of knowledge about it. But if you're going to go the DIY route, here's things you can do today, right? So go to YouTube or
Right.
Google or whatever and just search up sync licensing or music licensing and watch, maybe the first 10 videos about it. That should give you enough of an idea of how it works and who's involved for you to kind of grasp those concepts. Then that should take you about an hour or two, right? Then after that, go to Facebook if you have Facebook.
Okay.
And then just search sync licensing groups. And there's tons, probably hundreds, if not thousands, of free groups on Facebook for dedicated to people who want to pursue sync licensing. And in those groups, and again, they're free. Most of them are free. In those groups, you can find people who are already doing it. And then what you'd want to do is you'd want to find some people to collaborate with, make some songs with, and kind of by osmosis grab onto their network, their pre-existing network. That's the way that I would go about it. That's how I did it, basically. I
Right.
mean, I took a course and kind of fast tracked my learning about it, but then I did that. I went into the Facebook groups. You just meet a bunch of people, and then you just keep implementing and iterating. I mean, of course, to get to where I am today, it took me 7 years, right? So it's not something that you can have overnight success with, unless, because I also did the DIY route. So if you get help, right, someone who can kind of carry you all the way, you can see much faster results. But that's what I would do if I were someone who wanted to get started in this today. Those two things.
Whew. Okay,
Yeah.
so next question. I think we touched a bit. How can musicians start to earn real income from their music?
Yeah. So, I mean, sync licensing is great, obviously. But to give you a little bit of a tangible, picture of the money that's available. So,
Right, right. Yeah,
you're right.
I,
Like,
I
are we talking
understand
pennies
better that
here?
way.
Yeah. So on the span of the license fees is quite wide, right? They can range from, I mean, literally, I've seen, $0 fees, which are very, very rare, but they range all the way up to the $250,000 range, right? And everything in between. Now, on average, for your typical TV spots, the TV shows that you see on Netflix and kind of the reality shows, you're talking anywhere between $500 to $2,000 per placement. That's pretty good money, right?
Sorry,
So
you think five
yes, to $2,000
hundred
plus
thousand
per
dollars?
placement. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So per license procured to use your song, that's
Oh,
on average you're looking. But it also goes way higher than that. I've seen and written for spots that, the fees are in the $20,000-$30,000 range. So, you can make good money doing this. You just have to kind of hone it in, and really figure out how to get that sound that they're looking for.
wow. So it is doable. It's just you gotta find that avenue.
Exactly.
Mm.
And one of the things that I'm excited about that I offer people who choose to work with me is I actually bring the licensing agencies in and let you pitch your music directly to them, and the agencies are the people
So
who pitch the
wow.
music. Yeah. So I'm trying to help bridge that gap.
Right. So it's like new and upcoming artists who's trying to get their music out there and just trying to reach the world can so they can collaborate with you, or maybe it's like are you taking like a, I don't know, what do you call it, a coaching, like a music career advisor kind of
Sort of. Yeah.
role?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So I'm teaching you what to do, how to do it, how to write songs geared towards sync licensing, because it's a little bit different than writing songs for yourself. There's some do's and don'ts you have to follow. So I teach you all about that. I teach you about the legal side, which is really important,
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
you're dealing with a lot of big companies and things. So teach you all about that, and then I help you hone the writing part. We actually go in and work on your songwriting to make sure that it works for film and TV, and then I set you up with the agencies to pitch your music and hopefully get some syncs down the line.
Wow. I can already because I've got some friends that are singers as well, but they do gigs within Malaysia. But I don't know
Yeah.
how to position them. Maybe they could reach out to you for songwriting or just like advice on that, because I don't know if your market is just focused in the US.
The
and
whole world.
I'm
Yeah.
good in a certain type of song which is appealing to somebody in the US or I don't know where, and you can connect them.
Yeah. Well, the beautiful thing, one of the many beautiful things about sync licensing is that, you know, just think about how much variety there is in film and TV. And
Yeah.
that means that there's a similar demand of variety for the music that's used. So it's not all just like pop music, right? There's a
Yeah.
lot of different music that they need. I've seen requests for some really out there stuff, and they pay money for it. So I actually tell people, if you have a niche that's different than the typical top 40, then you actually have an advantage, because you can kind of leverage that niche skill in writing. Let's say you're really good at like Bollywood style music,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
you can definitely
Ancient, like
find, yeah,
traditional, yeah,
exactly. So
instrumental, yeah.
so no matter where you are, there's room for you in sync. And it doesn't really matter where you're located either. You can work with the agencies in the United States, and there's agencies all over the world. But if you wanted to work with the agencies in the U.S., there's nothing that should stop you.
Wow, it's really borderless and seamless these days.
Absolutely. I mean, with the global economy we live in,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, I'm excited. I'm excited for these people.
yeah,
Well, I think I'm doing something good right now because I mean, like I've never spoken to anybody who's actually in the background, who's involved from the business side all
yeah,
the way to having their products, which is their music, out there and actually getting money, like real money. I mean,
yeah,
I've seen people like, okay, they get here and there, like, gigs and whatnot. So it's, and also I think it's pretty much the same across the regions in Asia or in Malaysia. We also have like agencies, but then you gotta pay money up front for them to
yeah.
grow up. I've seen people who actually wanted to become singers, but again, they have to resort to the traditional pathway of making money,
Yep.
and they end up just doing music part time.
Yeah.
Okay, I have some names. Okay, I'm gonna make forward their profile, your profile to them.
Yeah. Send them along.
Right, perfect. So, is streaming as great as it's made out to be?
No. It can be. It can be, but
Like, what are
again,
the bar? Like, what are the, yeah? How do we get through the hurdle? Like, what's the
yeah.
hurdle? Yeah.
So again, I love that you have an accounting background, because I'm all about numbers and I love to talk numbers. I'm pulling up my calculator as we speak. So spot yeah, so let me like let's lay it out here, right? So
Right.
Spotify pays about, let's put it this way. For 1,000 streams, you'll get paid about 3 cents. US cents, right?
Right.
So that's obviously not a lot of cash. So so if you want to make a so, so if you want to make a
one on repeat. So let's say you like one song, you repeat 10 times. So it's that 10/1,000, right? It's not like one time play and the repeated number doesn't get counted. So
no,
it's
it
like,
does. It's
oh,
just
it does. So
however many
every
times
time,
your song gets
however many
streamed. Yeah.
times. Okay.
It's
Okay.
just that in order to make 3 cents, you need about 1,000 streams.
So is it full song?
So
So I'm getting a bit technical, and it's just I'm just so curious. So is it like the first 1 minute
it's
or a few?
up to 30 seconds.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, okay,
Although I
okay.
think they may have changed it. I think they may have changed it to 60 seconds, but I'm not sure.
Mm.
But there's you can Google that. But anyway,
Yeah,
most people are going to
I'll
be releasing yeah, most people are going to be releasing regular length songs anyway, but just to put it in perspective, that means to make any significant money, you need to be bringing in, I don't know, at least a 500,000 streams a month, you know? And that's just maybe probably to cover your rent and food and any sort of fun that you want to have. And to get a 500,000 streams consistently, right, you need to be placed on either a major playlist, right, or have something go viral on TikTok, or yeah, probably TikTok.
Yeah.
And not that those things aren't possible, but they're very, very chance based, right? And they require a lot of work to actually bring to fruition. And the playlisting is like is because of how many songs are being submitted, your chances of getting on those playlists, especially because you're competing with the major labels who have relationships with Spotify, and
Yeah.
they get the first pick, right? Your
Right.
chances of getting on those playlists are very low. And then, of course, if you're going to go the TikTok social media route, it takes a lot of time to post content. I did that for a while, and it's really exhausting, right?
It is. It is.
You gotta,
And social media management, it is exhausting,
it's
especially if you're a
exhausting.
one-man show. Like,
Exactly.
guilty here.
Exactly. Same here.
Yeah.
And I did it and I
Yeah.
tried it and I realized, I was wasting my time. That the hours that I would spend recording videos, thinking about content, DMing people, trying to, make connections, commenting. I'm like, I could spend these same hours making songs and submitting them to
Songs.
my agency, and make more money that way. And so that's what I did. I just was like, what, forget it. I'm not going to do that. And I know this is a pain point for people, that the social media thing, because they feel like they have to do social media if they want to build a fan base. And
Mm.
the truth is, you don't really. If you want to pursue streaming, this is what I tell people. You need to have a budget to be able to run Facebook and Instagram ads to
Ads.
drive traffic to your songs. But don't let it stop there. What you want to do is you want to build an email list, because then you own your fan base and you're not beholden to the algorithms at large, right? To distribute your content, right? So what I always tell people is, if you run Facebook and Instagram ads, but ask people, do you want to sign up for my email list, right? Before you give them the link to the song. Not
Uh,
everybody will, but maybe one in, I don't know, 50 or 100 people, depending how accurate and good your targeting is with the Facebook ads, will sign up. And that's how you start to actually build a fan base, because for people to give you their email means they're really into what you're doing, right? And that
yeah.
means that that person is much more likely to support you financially at some point. And so if you're going to go that route, I recommend going fully in that direction and like full steam ahead, and build an email list, run Facebook and Instagram ads to your Spotify or to your Apple Music, whatever. And then try to kind of monetize that list down the line as it grows. But that takes an investment of money.
Well, I was just putting it into perspective, like sitting and then, okay, so if I'm the artist, I have to sit down, write songs, and then if it's a one-man show, yeah, you gotta sit and figure out your budget and actually do your targeting, and then, oh my god,
It's a lot.
I, I at this point I'm already discouraged. I mean,
I know.
okay, and we're gonna talk about that because my podcast talks about self-worthiness and how do you push through
Yep.
setbacks and whatnot. And yeah, so Nicolette,
No, I know.
I
It's a
feel
lot.
I feel for artists, like really
Yeah.
myself or people in the corporate world are actually sighing every day and complaining about why do we have to work 9 to 5. It's actually, we're all in the same boat at the end
Yep.
of the day, and to make money, it just makes me think again, and just again brings me to perspective to be grateful that it's actually not greener on the other side as we think it is, but it's just, you just have to put in the effort, and I think luck is also a component into it.
Sure.
So yeah, so it's like an artist or people have 9 to 5, it's the same. Making money is tough.
Yeah. And just to help, kind of frame what I'm saying a bit, you have to, if you're an artist and you want to, your goal is to be able to support yourself financially from any aspect of your art, right? You have to start thinking like a business owner. And I know that sounds annoying and trite, but it's a big factor in why people fail or end up quitting, because they don't want to figure out, they don't want to take the time and put the effort into figuring out how to monetize their skill of songwriting and making music. And you have to think of, yourself, your music is your product, right? And just like any other company, you have to figure out how to market and sell that product, right? You're no different than the pizza shop down the street, you're no different than Walmart, you're no different than Target. You're just operating on different levels and you're targeting different customers, right? So, but how I've found that when people make that mental switch from, okay, I'm just a creative and I just, let me just kind of make music and see what the universe gives me, right? Which is
Yeah.
one way to go about it. Instead of thinking that way, when you make that mental switch, okay, I'm a business, I need to operate like a business, then you actually start to empower yourself because you realize, hey, I'm in control of this situation as the business owner, So your business might not be profitable yet or even cash flowing yet, but it's your business, right? And you own it. And instead of saying, okay, well, let's just see what fate has for me, right? Say, you know what? What business strategy can I utilize to fast track my success? One method you might use, for example, is, let's say you're liking the sound of the sync licensing thing. You could say to yourself, well, sync licensing, I don't see myself doing that as a passion, but I do see the value in the cash flow it can bring. So let me get that set up. Let the cash start flowing. Then I can use that cash to reinvest into my ads to send people to my Spotify, my artist project, right? Then now you've got a business, right?
Yeah.
Now you've got a business that you're in control of. And of course, you're not going to do it perfectly round one, but
Yeah.
as you go, you learn, you iterate, you make mistakes, you waste money. Lord knows I've wasted thousands of dollars trying to figure stuff out, right? It's a part
Yeah.
of doing business, right? It's a part of
That's
being in business
true.
for yourself. So
Oh,
anyway, just I hope that helps someone kind of reframe how to think about this and maybe start making some decisions differently.
oh gosh, Nisma, I think you brought things into perspective and then you actually broke it down for people to not get intimidated by, like you said, okay, so if they are naturally a creative person, right, and they have a product, their voice, their songwriting, their music, and then now they want to market it and they don't have the money just yet to invest in something big, and then but they can always start with, yes, trying to figure out if it's a business, is if it's a product to sell, how am I gonna do this? And
Mm-hmm.
but then it also irks people that maybe they don't really have that numbers background, right? And I think that's where they can actually get help
Mm-hmm.
by researching online, or just because I don't know, some people are just shy or they just have that ego that,
Sure.
I have, this is me, I know what I'm doing, I'm just gonna
Sure.
go with my path, and you know the world is on its own. So I guess it's, yeah, just being open then and be receptive of what's out there. Mm.
Yeah, I always say the minute you think you know everything is the minute that you have shot yourself in the foot, because
Oh, that's so true.
as
Yeah.
I go, and I do things and I have success, there's always something that I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know that. Now I know that. I could have done it differently. Next time I'll do it better." And having that open-mindedness that, kind of taking ego out of the equation like you mentioned, that
Yeah.
is what you have to have in order to be successful at business, because business will do, if it does anything, it will keep you humble because it is not easy to figure that stuff out.
Are you the type of person like, when you've already, how do I say this? I mean, there definitely will be moments in your life where you said, okay, I wanted to reach a certain goal and I have reached it.
Mhm.
Maybe in your peers that, you said, okay, I'm sort of here. How do you bring yourself back? Like, how do you, that having that humility, like, how do you keep yourself grounded, level headed?
Yeah.
Way, like, I
That
mean, okay, like, how do you say? I think people would struggle, but I think having that awareness and just hearing from, okay, how does she do it? Like, Because everybody's out there showing off.
Sure.
Showing off then, yeah, but yeah.
Well, for me, and I really appreciate that question because I don't think
Oh,
people talk about I don't think people talk about what happens when you actually reach your goals enough. I think we all talk about trying to reach our goals.
yeah.
So, for me, what I've done is I've gotten really clear on my why, right? And my why is not based in it's not circumstantial. It's based in how am I experiencing life, right? In terms of like how much joy do I feel, how much freedom do I feel, how much satisfaction do I feel. And so let's say when I reach a goal or I find some sort of success, I bring it back and I say, all right, does this serve my why? You know, and then if it does, I celebrate it, and then I figure out, okay, what else do I need, if anything, to continue to keep my why uh, grounded or fed, let's say, right? And then that will help me kind of realize, all right, maybe there's another level that I can go here, right? And so it's not capitalism where you're like
Yeah.
growing for the sake of growing, right? Because you
Yeah.
can grow, so you should. And I think that that actually kills people more than
Yeah.
anything is like this addiction to growth, right?
That's true.
So it's not that. It's about like, okay, how satisfied do I feel? How connected to my why do I feel after this success? Do I feel like it's enough? Do I feel like it was a stepping stone? How does it fit into that bigger picture of like what I want out of life? Which really what I want out of life is peace, quiet, happiness, freedom, contentment, what everybody wants, right? And so you have to kind of, for me anyway, I have to kind of keep that clutter out of my mind of like the milestones and the, trying to, increase the number on the next thing just for the sake
Yeah.
of increasing the number.
Yeah.
And it's easy to get caught in that trap, but yeah, I don't know if that really answers your questions, but that's kind of what
Thank
came to
you.
my mind. Yeah.
Thank you. Because thank you so much for sharing. I think that's very honest and real and raw of you. Because yeah, these days, yeah, I'm not sure, but what I see is that people are just out there. Once they get something, okay, what's the next big thing that I need to achieve?
Hmm.
What's the next big thing? What's next? So it's like somehow defeats the purpose, or maybe they just people sometimes forget the why once they get
Hmm.
the taste of their success. And yeah, it's something that I contemplate sometimes too.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's easy to get caught up in it. And it's very human because our brains are designed to always be looking for challenges. And so, you know,
Yeah.
it's just have to have a level of awareness around it, I think.
Thank you. What are
Anytime.
the what are pitfalls, mistakes, and misconceptions that are holding most artists back without them even knowing it?
Well, I think we kind of touched on it a bit. I think the biggest thing is the business piece, that people are kind of forgetting that they need to implement some sort of business plan in order
Right.
to see any traction. And it's that mindset of, being willing to learn and make mistakes and not lead with ego. But that and just understanding that, there's a reason that 1% of people hold most of the wealth, and there's a lot of systemic issues around
Thank
that
you for
too
saying
that I
that.
but there is a reason, and it's because if you're going to act like most people, you're going to get the results that most people have, right? So you have to make peace with the fact that if you want success, you're going to have to travel the road less traveled. That's just how it is. And make peace with the fact that that path is going to have a lot more bushes that you're going to have to cut down. Now I'm getting full-fledged into the forest metaphor here, but
That's
it's going to be a
I
lot
like that.
rockier. Right? Like you're going to have to make peace with the fact that you're going to have to go on a full-fledged hike to get where you want
Right.
to go, as opposed to taking the pre-paved trail with the deck and the nice views, right? So, but the great thing is that when you get to the end of your path, hopefully the goal is that the view is much nicer, or the prize is much more worth the pain than, the path, the simple path that most people are on. So, yeah, not to get too deep into that metaphor, but I think that
I like
spells it out.
anchor it back all in. It's about finding your why, I guess.
Yeah.
Not to lose sight of that.
Yep.
Clean anything, right? Whether it's a new venture or if it's your current job, people, even if you are in a career rut and you want to change, I think it's good to, again, find out your why. If it's already buried because of the bills you have to pay, now you just have to do this because of that, or you're just trying to turn your back on that and kind of forget
Yeah.
that you should be pursuing your dream. Something I don't know. It could be you could be a plumber, right? But if you love that job and then why, right? It's finding out your why.
Yeah, absolutely. And so much of that is getting out of our head and into our body, right? That I've found. Like actually experiencing life as opposed to thinking about life and intellectualizing life, because I personally struggle with
Thank
this,
you.
like
That's
romanticizing
a good
things
one.
and like, yeah, and like thinking like, okay, well, when I get that, it'll feel so great. But like, how do I feel now? And how can I improve how I feel right now? Right? Because the truth is, the future is an illusion, right? We only ever have
Yeah,
right now. So if we don't get good at maximizing right now, we're never going to be able to enjoy our lives because we'll only ever have right now. And
correct.
if we get stuck into this like future thinking of like, oh, I'll be happy when, we'll never be happy because when will never happen because it'll only ever be now.
It's
So,
oh
yeah.
god, you grasped the concept. That is fun.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. Okay. So I'm gonna pivot to a self-worth question.
Sure.
Right. So okay, this is your question.
Okay.
How do childhood experiences and upbringing impact an individual's sense of self-worth and their ability to engage in self-discovery later in life?
Oh man. So I think it can really make or break a person, to be honest. And I think that it can, I think it depends on how much you were forced to self-betray as a child, which I was forced to self-betray a lot.
Oh,
So
that's
I
a
resonate with that.
strong word. Self
Yeah.
betray.
Yeah, because if you have parents who really needed you to parent them, which was true for me in a lot of ways, you learn as a child that your needs don't matter and that eventually your body actually disconnects you from your needs altogether and you just kind of live in this permanent state of like dissociation, and then you become, you know, dependent on really taking care of others for a sense of self. And my journey out of that was setting boundaries, and returning to myself and honoring my needs. And it's really hard and uncomfortable, because it's so foreign and feels so dangerous.
Right.
But I have found that that process of setting boundaries and honoring myself and my needs has granted me the most freedom in how I feel and experience life. And that process of like reconnecting with yourself, I think, allows you to make those discoveries of who you really actually are, like who you were when you were a kid, right? That you had to suppress in order to stay safe or whatever. So yeah, I think it's setting boundaries for me, and I think that, your original question was how does it impact? I think it really impacts you in that way of how much you trust yourself and how connected you feel to yourself, your real self, which gets so buried underneath the versions of ourselves we had to become to survive.
Wow. I think I can resonate. Not me personally, but I have a friend who keep it anonymous. Like he has an estranged relationship with his father, and
Mm,
at times he would come to me, and I can tell I think he's living his best life right now.
mm,
He loves we're colleagues, so he loves his job. he's traveling, and he's content. But one
Yeah.
thing is that he had to, like you said, create boundaries with his dad. And to be honest, every time we sit down and we have coffee, we have our catch up. I think it's always in the back of his mind that, do you think I'm a bad son? So
Mm.
he tells me his childhood and how the role the dad was absent in his life. So
Yeah.
and and it's like he's creating that, but I think in internally he still hasn't made peace. That is what he needs to do, because he still feels like he has an obligation, or
Mm.
he's maybe or guilty that he has, cut created that boundaries.
Yeah.
So I don't and may or may not have forgiven himself. I'm not, I don't know, but how do you how what's your take on that? How do you navigate that?
Oh man. Well, I'm not a trained therapist, but
Right.
if he were my friend and he were asking me for advice on how to feel
Yes.
better about this,
Yeah. You can frame it that way.
yeah, this is how I might go about that. I would probably say that he's got some pain, stored in his body somewhere that he needs to try to release. And that pain is going to free up the space in his body and his mind to repair the relationship with himself, right?
Keyword.
That with himself, that his dad ruptured, right? Because when he was born, when he was, before he experienced that abuse, there was no conception in his mind that he was a bad son. He had no reason to believe that. But through the acts and decisions and choices of his dad, his brain had no choice but to internalize that abuse, and that's what kept him safe, right? So now it's a matter of like getting in touch with that part of himself that believes that, and just kind of talking with it, and being like, listen, we don't have to believe this anymore, because good son, bad son, we can take care of ourselves. We don't need that guy anymore. So it's starting to really just repair that relationship with that part of himself that is really just trying to keep him safe. So that's what I
Thank
would
you.
say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think it'll take time, because I did say those things along those lines to him.
Yeah.
I think yeah, everybody just needs time, I
Yeah.
guess.
And some wounds are deeper than others. Some wounds we will never heal in this lifetime. We'll just always carry them, and they
Ooh,
will
that's
dull
so
over time,
true. Yeah,
you know? But
yeah. You're right. You're right.
but yeah, I wish him peace.
What is your heart's greatest wish?
My heart's greatest wish. My heart's greatest wish is that more people would come back home to themselves throughout their lives. And I think if we lived in a world where people were more connected to themselves, we would feel that energetically in the world and with each other, you know. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
sorry, I was, I was resonating and like,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you. Do you have a mantra that you live by?
I don't know if I have a mantra that I live by, but there is one quote that I think of often that motivates me. It keeps me motivated, and it's, if you want to know what your future looks like, look at your today.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a
And
good call out.
yeah,
Like,
because again, like we were
oh,
saying, tomorrow's an illusion, right? We only have today. So most likely, if you're doing what you're doing today, you're going to be doing it tomorrow too. So the changes happen now. Yeah.
ooh, that's a good one, right? Because yeah, like I told you, I have a 9 to 5, so today hasn't been the smoothest day. So
Mm,
I think talking to people and guests is like, again, brings me back to, okay, my center. Like, what is that one? What's that one thing that I need to anchor? Is there
deep,
anything
deep
that
talks.
I love deep talk.
Yeah.
The 10 year. I mean, 10 year. If I were to look at myself 10 years ago, I would not have gone through. I would be able to talk like this. I think
Yeah.
again because everybody has. I've gone through some trauma myself, and I've
Sure.
forced that own. I've had to do some work. Let's just say shadow work, and
Sure.
then went through that spiritual awakening, and yeah, here I am, and
Yeah.
I live for this
Yeah.
now.
That's awesome. Well, keep doing the good work. I'm sure you're helping people on their journeys.
So Nisma, is there anything that keeps you up at night, or do you sleep well?
Typically, I sleep pretty well, but no, what keeps me up at night? So
Well,
I, like similar to your friend, have a difficult relationship with my mom.
right.
And it's really heartbreaking. And it's complicated. I won't get into the details, but that weighs heavy on my heart a lot. So, yeah.
So we're down to the last question. If you could create a quote right now for you to leave to the audience listening and the world as your legacy, what would it be?
Oh man, that's a lot of pressure.
You can take some time.
I don't know.
The quote that you used just now was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't mine though. I don't own it. I haven't trademarked it. Copywritten it, whatever.
And like something and then dash Nisma Osman 2024. Yeah.
Right? I don't know, man. I don't know. I would have to really think about that. But I would say I'll give you the arena that I would write it in. It would be something along the lines of try to be as present as you can, as often as you can. Because I really do believe that life is lived in the present and experienced in the present. And it goes by so quickly, and if we get stuck in our heads, that's where we end up living, is in our heads. And sometimes that's not a great place to be. So that's what I'll leave you with.
Perfect. Oh, I think it's mind blowing. Thank you so much, Nisma, for your
Thank
time. And I
you.
think it has been a very great conversation. An artist herself, just trying to do good. You're doing good things too, and you're actually helping people. Like if I'm in that route, I would probably I'd jump on the bandwagon and get as much because clearly you have done your work and you're just trying to be that you are that beacon of light trying to help people
Well,
to
thank you.
navigate, right? And yeah, I hope with this podcast, this episode, it gets up there. If you have Instagram when this airs, I will clip it and then tag you so you can also share with your
Perfect. Thank you. Well, thank you, Nicolette. I had a lot of fun. You asked some great questions.
Okay. Thank you so much, Nisma. You have a great day. Let's stay in touch. I have you on Instagram, and
Yeah,
probably I'll have you on for another episode, maybe season
sure.
2.
Let's do it. Sounds good.
Thank you.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
Bye.